Wake up, sleepyheads.
It's party time!
Couple of minutes past the hour of 1 o'clock on South Florida's radio alternative, 88.5 WKPX Sunrise, Fort Lauderdale, and all of Broward County. Hey there, everyone. Beth Jordan and Amplified on the air with you. And as you know, Amplified is the only all-request show of its kind to bring you the best of the 80s metal we all remember, from Dokken and Kiss to Metallica, Megadeth, and everything in between. And we are going to get to your requests in just a few, but first we are celebrating a very special birthday in the metal world this week. Someone who has been my favorite for as long as I can remember. I have loved him probably since Kiss took the makeup off in 1983, maybe even before that. And I, of course, am talking about Eric Carr. As you know, every year we do a little tribute in Eric's honor during his birthday. And this year we have someone very special on the line. She wants to help us celebrate too. It's someone who knew him very, very well when they were young. It's his sister Loretta. And Loretta, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. And since we have a load of questions to ask you. So why don't we get started? Okay, first question is, tell us about Eric before he became Eric Carr, when he was just your big brother Paulie. Tell us what he was like.
Well, okay, that's an easy one. He's like any other big brother, beating you up all the time and yelling at you and stuff, No, but he was like always busy with the music. From when I can remember when we were little, the Cellarman was the first band, and he was just constantly with music and, performing, and we used to go out with him, and he was a lot of fun.
Okay, great.
Exciting to live with him because we did. I think we had a different lifestyle when we were young. We were always out. So, we lived in a small house, so everybody was, closely tied, and then, at different ages, and he would be with his friends and us, little sisters.
Now, did you have a lot in common with him? Or?
The music part, art, things like that. And like I said, there's just certain stages in your life where you hang out all the time, and then you go your own way. But, we all, grew up together with the music, so that helped a lot.
So that was like a common bond?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We used to...
You were a big Beatles fan?
Yeah.
Because I know he was.
Oh, yeah. Well, he used to put on his records after school, go into his room, and he'd put on earphones and put the Beatles on, and he'd play his drums. So all you'd really hear is just the drums. You wouldn't hear the music. And we lived, upstairs from a family, and the woman downstairs would go nuts, banging on the ceilings. And, yeah, it was a little strange family, like the Addams family. That's what he used to call us. And,
aw.
yeah, but in a lovable way.
I was going to say, because I met your parents, and they don't seem nothing like the Addams family.
Well, that's what, 50 years ago.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
We were more like hippies, but, it was a lot of fun.
Okay. Now, being the oldest, was he overprotective of you and your sister? Or?
I'll tell you, he was always there if we needed him. Definitely. Even till when I got older and would need him, and if someone was bothering me, even when he was in Kiss. He was very, if I said, Paulie, this guy's bothering me, and he'd get on the phone and he'd say, look, knock it off, leave my sister alone. He was very brave.
Share one of your fondest memories of him when you were young.
Okay, that would probably have to be when we used to all go down in the basement, and we would put boxes up, and we'd play soldiers. And I remember every time I would play that I collapsed, and he would just kind of drag me and save me. And it really stuck in my mind because it was, just how protective he was. And, even when he passed away, when we did the eulogy, that was one of the things that was said. Me and my sister never forgot that. We always used to play like that. It happens to be a good memory. And also the music, just traveling with the Cellarman, it was like my dad was the manager.
Right.
And he'd come home from fixing stoves, and then he'd throw us all in the car, literally, and we'd have to carry my brother's equipment. We were his roadies. The girls carried the heavy stuff.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, and the guy walked in, with the sunglasses, and it was a great time. It was really great. We were very close. We all were very close, and we just threw everything in the car. I remember we didn't even tie it down, and things would be rolling all over, but I wouldn't have given that up for a world. It was just a fun time. I was maybe 13 or 14 when he was in the Cellarman, and to see my sister, she was young, so we lived a really exciting life. When I think back, even before Kiss, that's the icing to the cake, but we had a lot of fun.
Now, you were the one to answer the phone, right, when he found out he got the job with Kiss? Tell us about that day.
Yeah, well, Bill Coyne called. All right, he asked my brother, and I said, Paulie, it's Bill. And he was in the bathroom at the time, dolling himself up. And he came out, and he says, "Hey, dude, I mean, you want to see me again? I got it. You want to see me?" So I heard that, and then when he got off, he said, "They want me to come back, but they want me to shave my mustache." He had a really thick mustache. You know, that was like the beginning. But, you know, we were very, we were all into our own thing. Like, you know, we didn't really realize what was happening. It was really amazing how it didn't dawn on us that that he was auditioning for like one of the biggest bands in the world at that time. It didn't click. It really didn't click. He came home. Of course, everybody, you know, was really excited. And it's the kind of thing that, what do you think you want to do? You want to go out and tell all your friends. You want to tell everybody, right? Well, we couldn't, because one of the biggest rules was nobody could know who he was. So, you know, I'd go to work and I'd say, "Guess what? My brother's famous, but I can't tell you who he is." And they'd laugh at me.
They'd think you were making it up.
Yeah, of course. They'd laugh. Because they knew Paulie where I worked. They knew him. I mean, I was working at the place for like 10 years, and he always used to come in, you know, when he was around, and, you know, "Hey, Loretta, you got $10 to lend me?" You know, stuff like that. And everybody knew him. So, you know, it was like, "Paulie?" And that was it. And he still came in after Kiss, you know, when he had his makeup on, he would still pass by and sit down and talk to us and everything, and nobody knew who he was.
No one would know.
No, he was just a regular, you know, he did the same things he always did. When we go see him play, I remember when he was at Radio City, we went backstage and we said, "Paulie," and he says, "Shh, you can't say that, you can't say it." He got like really, you know, like to Gene and Paul, it didn't matter, you know what I mean? They looked and they laughed, but to him it was like, "Oh my God, I'm going to get fired now. They said my name," you know, it was really, but then he got over that really quick, and then, you know, it was just, we could call him Paul and Paulie, and it didn't matter. The concert where we went backstage and said Paulie, and he got hysterical.
Freaked
I
out.
thought his hair was going to fall off his head. But it's like anything else, when you're at a first start a job and your friends are calling, you get nervous.
Yeah, you don't
want
to do anything to possibly get in trouble.
Right. So, you know, he thought we were going to get him canned, you know.
Well, obviously you didn't.
No.
Because he was in the band longer than Peter Criss was.
Yeah, really.
Okay, now tell us about how he came up with the name Eric Carr. I know that's not his real name, so...
That was like just done, of course he went around asking everybody to think of names, and I think they picked it out of a hat or something. They
Really?
threw names into a hat, him and his friends, and that's what they pulled out. That was it.
Okay, now tell us about the first time you ever saw him play with Kiss. What was that like for you and your parents? You know, to see him going from playing clubs and bars where he was making little or no money to playing like places like Madison Square Garden and Radio City.
Well, the Radio City thing was you couldn't believe it. And then, you know, in the beginning everybody was screaming Peter.
Right.
But then it turned into Eric, and it was really nice.
Now, did you see him before or after the show? When did you go backstage?
We saw him before.
Before the show.
Because
did he seem really nervous or just...
He was very nervous, and they took us on a tour. It was really nice because some of the people that worked there took us on a tour of Radio City Music Hall, and it's something you'd never see in your lifetime. Very beautiful. So that was, I guess my brother said, "Get rid of them. Get them lost somewhere in the building."
Now, even after he joined Kiss, there was a time where he was still living at home, right?
Well, it was really, you know, he lived home with us up until around 87 or 88. He moved away once, lived in the village. Then he gave up that apartment, became home and lived a few years, and then he came back again. And everyone, and I'm telling you, knew who he was in the neighborhood. And there'd be kids sitting on the steps when we came home. They'd wait for my brother. He'd go to their houses. He used to go to Howard Beach a lot. That's in Queens, and he'd have dinner, and they knew him in Pizza City. I mean, if anybody's familiar with New York, Queens, and knows Howard Beach, and that's like, you know, where John Gotti and all everybody lives and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
But if anybody's familiar with that area that might be listening, you know, that he used to hang out all over there. So everybody knew him.
Okay, now once the makeup came off and his identity was revealed, you guys didn't have to hide it anymore. But how did you and your family, did you have to worry much about your privacy and overzealous fans after that? You know, people trying to break in to get a memento.
Well, there was only one
there,
incident where it was like 3 o'clock at night, and some kids knocked on the door. And my brother got up and he told them, you know, "Don't do this anymore. You know, don't bother my parents this late at night." He was really upset.
Can't blame him. I mean...
No, 3 o'clock in the morning. I mean, it's, you know, you don't do that. But I guess maybe they were drinking or whatever the case may have been. Or maybe they were just fascinated and they didn't think anything of it.
Exactly.
But other than that, knock on wood, I mean, nobody ever bothered us. I mean, we were very open, you know. It was amazing. Nobody broke, you know. You would think maybe somebody would come into the house or, you know, but no, the kids were good. The kids are good.
If you're just tuning in, we're talking with Eric Carr's sister Loretta today in honor of what would have been his 54th birthday this July 12th. Now, Loretta, we're going to take a short break and we're going to play a couple of Kiss songs. And of course, they're going to feature Eric. But before we do that, why don't you tell us about the song Saint and Sinner, the song we're about to hear off of Creatures of the Night?
Actually, this was probably Eric's favorite song, Saint and Sinner. That's probably one of the hardest songs he said he ever drummed on, believe it or not, even though you look and you say, wow, it's really simple. He found it the hardest drumming he ever did.
All right, there you have it. Here's Saint and Sinner off of Creatures of the Night right here at 88.5 WKPX and Amplified. Tune it in and turn it up. 88.5 WKPX, Little Caesar right there off of Hot in the Shade, of course, Kiss featuring Eric Carr on what would have been his 54th birthday this July 12th. Hi there everyone, Beth Jordan and Amplified on the air with you, and we're back talking with someone who knew Eric very well. It is, of course, his sister Loretta. And now, it's been a little over 12 years since he's been laid to rest. Do you still speak to any of the other members of Kiss?
I speak to Bruce because actually we're partners with Eric's Rockheads. That's his animation.
Oh, right.
And
I'm ask you to tell me a little bit more about that in a little bit.
Yeah, well, we're partners, you know, and that's how Rockology came out, because there's 3 songs on Rockology that were written for the Rockheads. And I don't think I've talked to Gene and Paul since my brother's funeral. That's it. Just probably Bruce and maybe Adam Mitchell and some co-writers like Mitch Weissman I talk to once in a while. He's a really nice guy. Bruce has been very good to the family. Bruce is always there.
Yeah, I met him a couple of months ago, actually, at Gulfstream Park. Grand Funk Railroad was playing a show there, and I got a chance to meet him for the second time, actually.
I have to go see them. They're good?
Very good. Yeah. I was very impressed, actually, because Grand Funk Railroad really isn't my style of music. I'm more the 80s metalhead.
Yeah.
And even I was impressed, and I was only there for Bruce, you know.
Yeah, Bruce is really nice. He's, you know, like I said, he's always been kind, and he was with us with my brother. He really stuck by us. Yeah,
he was great with the fans. When he came by, he signed everyone's autographs, and I was really impressed because the first time I met him was at a Kiss convention.
Right.
And he seemed a little rushed, like he just signed an autograph and, you know, they moved you down.
Right.
But this time when he signed the autograph, he was talking to me, and even though he was moving down the line signing other people's autographs, he was still talking to me, which I just thought was so cool.
He's very personable. I guess maybe it depends on the circumstance. I'm in touch with him. We have a bond together. We do.
Okay, now you mentioned the Rockheads and you mentioned Rockology. Before he became too sick to continue, Eric had been working on several outside projects outside of Kiss, including his Rockheads cartoon, Street Gang Productions, and his solo recordings. And now, what can you tell us about each of those? What can you, what became of them? What became of the Rockheads?
Well, the Rockheads, believe it or not, in around 1986, he had a partial deal with Hanna-Barbera and Landmark. Okay, the 2 companies wanted it, but my brother, you know, this was something he created from when he was in high school. All right, they've changed. They evolved over the years. So he was very possessive of them, and in these contracts, he would have no control over their vision or over anything that they were going to be, so they could take it and make it. But he wanted that control because this was really the one thing that he had that he could control. That was his.
Right, that he created.
He created from the get-go, and so I guess, you know, looking back, if he were here now, he'd probably say that was a bad decision to walk away from it. But at that point, it felt right to him, and that was the right thing then for him. Through the years, you know, we've tried to get them started, but, you know, it costs hundreds of thousands of dollars to make an animated film, and unless you could present something to somebody, they don't want to hear about it. But we've kept it alive through a lot of different things, and one of them, you know, is besides T-shirts and merchandising, would be, you know, the Rockology, the CD that came out a couple of years ago, which has on it 3 songs which were written for the Rockheads. The idea of them was to every week or something either bunk into other bands or, you know, go on the road, and then you know, there were promises from other bands like, you know, Black and Blue and Van Halen and all these, who Eric was very good friends with Eddie Van Halen, and they were going to be in the cartoon.
That would have been cool.
Well, you know, a lot of the stuff that's out now he thought of way before, you know what I mean? And a lot of it maybe not as cool as the Rockettes, because when you look at them, they're adorable.
Oh, yeah.
But, the concept of, having different bands play different music and things like that, it's happening now. But maybe it'll see the light of day. I don't know, if I can do it, but maybe my niece, when she's older, it'll happen.
Now, he created the Rockettes when he was in school? I know in the biography, in the DVD, your mom mentioned something about him drawing little figures at the bottom of each homework paper.
Yeah, like a little character.
Was that the beginning of the Rockettes, or was that something different?
Yeah, it was actually. It's cute, it was really cute. But it was a shorter-haired version of my brother. It actually, looked like when he was around 17, when he had a shorter hair with a little thin mustache. That was another era when he was with Salt and Pepper. It just morphed into what was, what it is now.
Now, which one of the Rockettes actually is kind of like a reflection of him?
Maybe it's a little bit of everything, but I would say mostly Scruffy, and could be Punky, too.
Punky.
Punky's the drummer. But I would say more Scruffy. Maybe that's his alter ego, A lot of them are from, people he knew, or just,
That was going to be my next question. Were the others modeled after Gene and Paul and Bruce, or?
No, I don't think it was modeled after them. It was modeled more or less after people he knew in his life.
Okay, so you told us about the Rockettes, and you told us a little about Rockology. Are there any other plans for any other CDs to come out? Like, how much solo material did he actually have? Did he have enough to do more than just Rockology, or?
Yeah, we wish we knew. There's tons of it, but it just disappeared in thin air. I'll just put it to you that way. There's a lot of recordings that he did, and they've been misplaced. But something turned up about 2 or 3 months ago, a demo which was given to me by someone actually was done in around 1987. There's a song written by Mitch Weissman and my brother, which is totally complete, called "The Troubles Inside You." And then there's another one, "Dial L for Love," which I have a copy of. That's one that's never been released that he always talked about. And then there's a really nice demo of Tierra, a really pretty demo.
Really? Because I think Tierra's a pretty song to begin with, just produced the way it was.
But Bruce does the part with Bruce is different than what he did, and it's awesome. It's really nice. But, there's a store in Australia opening up. I don't know if you're familiar with, called Kiss World.
Yeah, I've read some stuff in my metal news about that.
Yeah, and they've contacted me, and possibly, they might be interested in making that into a 4 or 5 song CD. And then I suggested, I could maybe do like a CD video photos, because my brother took hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of personal photos that I'm willing to, we could turn them into JPEGs and put hundreds of photos on a disc, and then some video clips that have never been released. So it could be a nice package.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
I know as an Eric Carr fan, that's something I would want.
Yeah, well, it'll be, exclusive to Kiss World. Basically, it won't be available anywhere else.
Right,
but,
just in Kiss World in Australia. But and I'm speaking as a Kiss fan in general. I know if I was there, that was something I would want.
Yeah. Well, that's why, they've been in contact, and hopefully I could work with them on a few things. They want to do drumsticks, which would be with the Kiss logo. So they've come to my family, basically, to try and use the, the likeness without the makeup, the name, and the signature.
Right. So you guys have control over that, right? Not Kiss.
Yeah. Anything that's done after, Kiss owns basically the makeup and stuff that was done before, prior,
right.
During Eric's, when he was in Kiss. But, for things like his likeness right now and his name and his, that is more or less the family's.
Oh, well, that's good.
Yeah, so in order for them to, they want to combine the Kiss logo on the sticks with Eric's signature, and that should really be awesome, and drum skins and things like that. So that'll work nice if we can, come to some agreement on that.
That would be great. Now, when do you think that'd happen? Do you know, or?
Well, I'm meeting with them probably at the end of August. They're coming to America. They're coming, to also see Peter and Ace. It's going to be a great store. They're going to be dealing with Kiss, and it's going to be the real thing, and they should have some stuff that's never been out, real memorabilia. So hopefully,
in Australia, it should do really well, because their shows
like the
sold out there.
Yeah, they're like the Beatles in Australia.
Yeah, their shows sold out so fast over there.
Mm-hmm. They're huge.
Yeah.
They're really huge, and the good thing about that is, if you like cheesecake, you go into a cheesecake store. You don't go into an Italian restaurant.
Right.
So if you like Kiss, you know that the people that go into your store are going to buy Kiss. It's not like, you got to try to sell them Kiss stuff, when they're interested in the Stones. So that's what's
Exactly.
good about that.
Okay, now what about Street Gang Productions? I don't know much about Street Gang Productions. I know I have a copy of the stationery and stuff, but
Well, Street Gang is basically the company that produced the Rockheads and bands like Harry Carey and New York bands that my brother was working with. And me, Bruce, and Adam took it over when he passed away, and that's where we put out Rockology and Tail of the Fox.
now throughout the years, you've been very involved in keeping your brother's memory alive. And
Right.
I'd like you to tell us some ways that you've been able to do that.
Well, just with small projects, but they've blossomed into bigger ones with word of mouth. It actually started just with my mother suggesting, to see if we can get some drumsticks with Paulie's name on it, and then I called Collada, and they said, sure, we'll do it. And it started just with the drumsticks, and then I said, this is nice because the kids are really interested, and then I started to put shirts, and then it just evolved from there, and then finally now we have the official website, ericcarr.com, which I hope everybody visits. There's a lot of stuff that you can see in the way of merchandise, and there's news, and there's interviews, and there's a lot of goodies there.
Wonderful. I was going to ask you to tell us what was on the website, but you
I
took
just
care of that
did.
for me.
That's it. You could even actually, there's a link. If you go into the Rockhead link, I don't know if you ever gone into that.
I have, yes.
Okay, now look knee deep in there because there's another link that I believe says A&C memorabilia or A&C. That's a whole nother world. Go into that. That's a store that my parents used to have, and I put a lot of cool stuff up, and it's probably most people don't know it's inside of the Rockheads. It's very deep in, but it's really good.
What is it? Is it like auctions or?
They had a store in Orange Plaza, and they had my brother's drum kit set up, one of the Crazy Nights drum kit.
Very cool.
Yeah, so, it's not anymore, but you could actually go there and see it. It was open to everybody. I look at some of the links are disconnected now, but look into the Rockheads. You might on the bottom and see if you see one that says A&C memorabilia, or check out these other things. There's some goodies in there.
Now,
Yeah.
also on the website, I noticed that you have a link for Rock for a Cure.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's,
Tell us a little bit about the auctions that are available there. And
Well, that was something that Carrie Stevens put together. That's my brother's last girlfriend before he passed away, and she was trying to raise money to buy some type of van for homeless people in L.A. It was really a nice thing she was doing. So we got a lot of items from different rock stars, and we auctioned them on the website. It did all right. It's not in full gear anymore because Carrie, now she has a little boy, really cute little boy, and so she doesn't tend to it too much, but it's still there. There's a lot of interesting things up there for people to view, and they could also inquire if they do want something because it still may be available.
Okay, now if there's one thing you would like everyone to remember most about your brother, just one thing, what would that be?
The one thing would be, first off, I'd say what he would want to be remembered for is for being a good role model, a nice person, and also for his drumming, and to just, remember him for being a good person, because you can be good and achieve what you want. You don't have to be evil and do bad things. Be good and you'll get more things coming for you. And he's the perfect example of that.
I know one thing that a lot of people, Bruce and everyone else, have always said is that he was very laid back and he was very down to earth.
Oh, he was.
There was never any type of an I'm a rock star now, so get out of my way type of deal with him.
As a matter of fact, it was probably, too much that he didn't realize how good he was. Maybe it was to the extreme. He was always trying to prove himself, and he probably, I think towards the end, with Forever and all the new album and the way that they were getting responded to because, they were coming back, he started to believe that he was really, really good.
Right. And I know that he was really thrilled with the fact that they were giving him a shot to do one of his own songs on one of the albums, which was, of course, Little Caesar.
Yeah,
on
he
Hide the
loved
Shade.
Little Caesar. He was proud of that. He was very proud of that song.
Wonderful. Okay, thanks so much for joining us.
Okay.
And Loretta, I would
great
like
talking
you...
to
You too. I'd like you to take the turn at being the DJ. Okay? Now, of all the songs he recorded, both with Kiss and his solo stuff,
Right.
tell us about your favorite, which I think you already mentioned earlier in the interview, and then go ahead and introduce it for us in honor of his 54th birthday.
I would have to say, without a doubt, Somebody's Waiting from Rockology, and it's an awesome song, and Eric does every single part in that song with the exception of the leads, which is Bruce, which are really great. So I'm going to ask you to play it for me if you can.
You got it. I'll get that on for you.
Okay, thank you, everybody, and stay well.
To the time you were mine, still burning, holding on tight, one heartbeat at a time. Oh, let your hair down. Without your love, been living a lie. But now I know we'll have it all tonight. Somebody's waiting for you. Somebody's waiting for your life. Someone to hold you. Somebody's waiting for you. Someone to know you. Won't you let me show you? And lonely fools, they never survive. When it's all too much for you to go on, just turn to me, I'll be strong.